Trigger warning, this video will talk about abuse, no details, just as a theme for support purposes, for educational purposes, for whatever positive impact that this might have on other people. But it will talk about things like trauma bonds, and it will talk about feelings and emotions. If at any point you start to feel dysregulated, or that this is too much, or you start to feel triggered, please take responsibility for your own triggers. Exit the video. You can come back at a later date if you want to. You can take this video in sections if you need to. But please be responsible for your own triggers, and if you start to feel bad, come back later or just put this video down. There will be another one next week, don't worry. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video by Dissociative, a project that tries to erase stigma around dissociative identity disorder and other trauma-related disorders. This is Serafina, and this video is going to be about loving your abusers and why that is nothing to be ashamed of. Dealing with this kind of experience can be particularly difficult. We understand that if you are somebody who has not experienced that kind of trauma or does not have CPTSD, then this might be difficult to understand and relate to, which is completely understandable, ironically. I know this because when I see my friends who have experienced abuse and they're dealing with their abusers, it can be very, very frustrating from the other side because you can see it in a very black and white perspective, even if you're able to see the greys of, you should not be around this person. They abused you, they harmed you, they will continue to do the same thing. It doesn't matter how you view them or what you think of them. Get away from them now. And especially if you have BPD, it can make that split very, very easy for you. However, if you are in the middle of that experience, it makes everything so much more complicated. And I know that a lot of survivors, ourselves included, feel an awful lot of shame and confusion and pain about knowing somebody you loved abused you. And even once you come to terms with that abuse, or you start to process that abuse, or you're dealing with it in therapy or on your own, whatever way you choose to handle it or are able to handle it at the current moment, sometimes you still love them. And sometimes it's more complicated than just, they abuse me, I'll cut them out of my life. Sometimes that's not possible. Also, not everybody has the support to do that. And it's not rare, but less common, I'd say, for an abuser to be through and through an objectively horrific person that you can look at and say they have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. People are human. A lot of them have either positive sides to them as well as the bad sides, or they are very, very charismatic and know exactly how to make you feel loved or wanted or needed. And for a lot of people who have CPTSD, or have experienced other traumas in the past, or did not get the proper emotional support or other kinds of support that they needed growing up, that kind of affection from an abuser may feel like the only thing that is close to what they have always wanted. And sometimes you might want to settle for that and say, I will take the abuse because it will give me this other thing. And many people won't understand that. It can also be complicated to hold those two sides of a person, between the person who loves you and is funny or treats you well, and the person who makes you experience horrendous things. And if you are a particularly empathetic person, which you might be if you grew up in hardship, because you see what it's like from your own perspective, and you might want to help them or save them, or you can emotionally relate to why they're feeling the way they are or why they're acting in the abusive manner that they are, and you connect. That can also make it difficult to disconnect yourself. There's also trauma bonding. Sometimes the phrase trauma bonding is just thrown around willy-nilly, but it's not a small thing. Trauma bonds can run so incredibly deep and be so integral to the way that you think and your core beliefs that it feels almost impossible to separate yourself from this other person. It takes a lot of work to undo, but it is possible. I want to reassure you, as me, Soren, and my friend Fawn, who's with me, that even if you love your abuser, even if after knowing about the abuse you still love them, that does not make you a bad person. That does not mean that you deserved your abuse. It doesn't mean that you're asking for it. It doesn't mean that you don't deserve support to eventually leave. And it is not something that you should feel ashamed about. Yes, you need to take responsibility for trying to leave. Yes, that can be very scary and confusing and difficult, but it is not your fault. There are also situations where you may have to continue to be in contact with your abuser for a limited period of time, or on a repeated time scale, maybe certain times of the year, or regularly, and it's not feasible for you to cut themselves out of your life completely. Or maybe you've known this person for a very, very long time and you're very intertwined with them in your life. Maybe you have children with them. Maybe they're family. Maybe they're a family friend. Maybe they're a partner of somebody you love. Maybe they're your ex. Maybe they're exercising certain types of abuse that force you to be able to have information about them, or for them to be able to get information on you. Maybe they're stalking you. Maybe you're involved with the courts. There are a lot of situations where just upping and leaving may not be feasible. And while, yes, complete removal of an abuser from your life is the ideal situation, we understand that that's not always possible. And it can be so draining and confusing to see somebody who you know has done these horrible things to you and see how other people interact with them. Or some people might have heard things like, oh, they say they really regret what happened or what they did, or they feel really bad about it, or, well, they never did anything bad to me, or they'd never do something like that, or you must have made it up in your head, or you're overreacting. You're not. You're not overreacting. The pain you feel is real. If they hurt you, then they hurt you. It doesn't matter what anyone else says about it. Those feelings are valid, your experiences are valid, and we believe you. And if you still love them after that, then we see you. It's not black and white. Sometimes having BPD helps for us personally. For some people, we can completely just 180 degree on them, from you're the best person in the world to you never existed to me. But that doesn't work with everything. There are alters in systems as well. If you have dissociative identity disorder or a similar experience, OSDD, PDID, anything along those lines, there are parts of you, parts of your system, alters, who may be very loyal to these people in your life, or even people who used to be in your life, who will love them ferociously, who may or may not be aware of the bad things that they were doing to you. Coming to terms with those feelings can be incredibly painful and jarring. And there are other people who may feel that the safest thing for you to do to avoid more abuse, or to at least go back to something that's predictable, abuse that you know, rather than the scary uncertainty of, God, what are they going to do to me now? And they may feel that the safest thing for you to do is to return to those abusers, because you can at least predict the abuse patterns and prepare for what's coming. This is not a safe choice. I understand the thought process. I've been there. I did this. I, as Nina, took us back to people who I knew would hurt us. And I had many reasons for doing what I did. It did not help. It was a band-aid. Maybe it felt like relief in the moment, because it was familiar. But I did not want those things to happen. My system did not want those things to happen. And no matter how softly you may think of these people, if they are hurting you, they are not seeing you as a person. And the more you go back to them, the more confident they're going to get in that you will never leave, and the worse the abuse will get, and the harder it will be to extract yourself. Now again, you shouldn't feel shame about going back. It's never an easy choice. It doesn't mean that you wanted it. It doesn't mean that you'll never be able to succeed. If you're trying, there is every chance. The statistics say that it takes on average 7 times for a victim of domestic violence to leave their abuser. 7 attempts before they're successful, and 7 years before your body's new again. That doesn't mean that it's not worth trying if you've failed before. There are lots of things that we can talk about in terms of how to get the support you need, and one day you can do it and you can leave, but even if you have left, whether you have or you haven't, if you still feel a deep connection to that person and you still think fondly of, how could they have done that to me when they clearly loved me? And why would they say these things? Why would they do these things that show that they do see me as a person and they do care about me? Why would they do that to me? And it doesn't make any sense. And sometimes it won't make sense. And that doesn't mean that it's your fault. And it doesn't mean that you're not trying hard enough or you're not thinking hard enough. Some things just don't make sense. Some people are just bad. Sometimes the softness and the love is real, and they've still done bad things. Those things can both be true. Sometimes the softness and the love is a lie. Something that's calculated, something that's created. Some people are all the way bad. Some people are truly evil people. And a lot of these people never see justice. And there are some people who won't survive to tell what happened. We want you to be one of the people who survives. If you're a DID system, one of the system who survives. There is nothing to be ashamed of about the things that you experienced or the things that happened to you. Because they happened to you. Even if you were a part of it, or you did things or anything, that doesn't make it your fault. If you were being abused and you're in a situation where you're being abused and they force you to do things, that was not a consensual experience, even if you agreed to it. Especially if you were a child. And I understand feeling bad about loving people who could do those things. It's also your choice whether you want to report things or not. And I know that you'll probably hear things from other people saying that if you didn't report, then it couldn't have been that bad. Or if that actually happened to you, if you were actually telling the truth, why didn't you call the police? And there are a million answers to that question. They will be different for everybody, but some of them will be shared. I didn't think that they would do anything. I didn't want to put myself through the pain of it. I was too scared. I didn't think anyone would take me seriously. I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't remember until many, many years later when my memory started to come back to me. I was threatened out against it. I've seen the statistics of how many people are failed by the crime system and the justice system, and I didn't want to be rejected again after giving so much painful information away and still be told that it's not enough. There are a million reasons. Those may be shared by other people, and there will be other things that are specific to you and your experience. They're all valid, even if you did go to court and you didn't get justice, or it was thrown out, or evidence went missing, or they had really good lawyers, or any reason. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen to you, and that the effects of what happened aren't real, or that they didn't deserve the justice that you didn't get. It's common knowledge how many people, especially women, are failed. We still believe you, and other people will too. The conflicting feelings make things a lot harder. But that doesn't mean that you won't be alright. Everyone's circumstances are different and unique to them. But wherever you are, and whatever your experience is, and whoever is involved, there is a way out of it, or a way to handle it, or a way to dampen the experience, or protect yourself. There are things you can do. And if you feel like you're failing to do those things, that's okay too. It is not your failing. So much pressure is put on the victim to do the right thing. Why did you let them do that to you? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Rather than where the basis should be of, why on earth would he do that to someone? Why on earth would she do that to someone? Why on earth would they do that to you? They should not have done that. That's where the pressure should be being laid. Take it off of yourself and put it on them. Do what you have to do and take the responsibility that you need to take to protect yourself as much as you can. Know that your emotions will be complicated, and that however you feel, that's not something you should be ashamed of. Emotions are natural, especially in regards to things like this, and they won't always make logical sense. It'll be okay, but that experience is your experience. So don't beat yourself up about it. We hope that this video gave you some support, some positive impression to take away, and I hope that it reached you, and if it did, then I'm glad. If you'd like to support us, please like, subscribe and click the bell so that you know when we've uploaded a new video. Sometimes we have to take breaks because of our physical health, our mental health and abuse that we experience that's ongoing as a DID system, and sometimes that knocks us out for a bit and we have to take some time away before we're healthy enough to come back. So if you don't ring the bell button, you might not know when we've returned and made a new video. So please hit it right now and subscribe, and we hope to see you again soon. If you'd like to see behind the scenes, get merch regardless of whether we're not active. Merch is handled entirely by Patreon and it will be shipped out automatically as soon as you hit the goals. So even if we've taken time away, if you're a member of our Patreon on one of those tiers, you will still be getting rewards. You can also see behind the scenes footage, exclusive videos that are never posted anywhere else, silly little chats, exclusive live streams, and you get to vote on what videos you would like to see. It's also the best way to support us. And another thing about supporting us, we are still in court against Sergio Costa. If you would like to know what on earth this Sergio Costa situation is about and why we're in court against this man, you can watch our playlist called What Happened to DissociaDID, which you can see here, and that explains everything. We are due an update. We are currently not emotionally stable enough to go through all the hundreds of documents and all the horrible things in them to compile an overdue video, but when we're up to it, we will do our best to update you, but we can reassure you it's still ongoing. And in order to afford the legal fees that we have to pay our lawyers, we use crowd justice, which means that the money goes straight to our lawyers from the platform. We're not allowed to touch it, it never comes into our bank account, and it can't be used for anything else other than the cases against Sergio Costa. So if you'd like to donate to help us cover those bills, which are insane, you can donate at www.crowdjustice.com/case/DissociaDID, and we are incredibly grateful to you for helping us get our justice and hoping that this man will finally leave us alone. Lots of love, everybody. See you in the next video. Bye.